Hi everyone, this is Phil Stratton and thanks for checking out my video. Welcome back to the channel. I thought I'd take a few minutes and walk you through my 2019 digital calendar or digital planner. We're approaching the end of August of 2018 and it's time to start thinking about 2019, and there may be some things that are going on in early 2019 that you want to be putting on your digital planner. So I'm in the same boat and I thought I'd go ahead and get my 2019 digital planner ready for action. I did make a few changes for 2019 versus the current planner that I'm using. So I thought rather than doing a detailed walkthrough of the entire planner, that I take some time to primarily show the changes that I've made. Hopefully this won't be too long of a video. So here on the iPad, I'll open up the GoodNotes app. And if you are familiar with the 2018 planner that I put together, then this will be a familiar first page here or opening graphic. So I'm going to flip the page over here and open it up, and again, this would look very familiar if you saw the video that I did when I created my 2018 planner. And I'll put some links to that video just in case you're unfamiliar with that. Along the left-hand side are the same January through December tabs. Along the right-hand side are the same kind of life focus areas that I have. Along the top right there, tabs 1 through 6 are the same as for 2018, but on the left side I have the same front and year tabs, but 2 new tabs, extra stuff and back, and I'll explain what those are as we go through. Same quote on the right hand side, but at the very top is a photo that I took while my family and I were on vacation down in the Destin, Navarre, Florida area. I thought it was a pretty cool photo, so I wanted to include that in here. And there may be some correlation between our attitude and how we experience storms in life, but hopefully we can appreciate things for the way they are. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the page, and this is a new ad for 2019. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is one of my favorite books. On the left-hand side is just a really cool graphic that I found online that shows each of the 7 habits. And on the right-hand side are just some different graphics that further represent the different habits that are there on the left-hand side. So if you're a fan of the book, if you've read the book, this might be something that you're interested in. If not, then I encourage you to read the book, because I found a lot of value in it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the page, and again, another book that's had a huge impact on me is the Getting Things Done book by David Allen. Particularly on the right-hand side is that process graphic that it just helps me keep in mind that as all of the different stuff comes in, all the different sources that we have, all the different inboxes that we maintain, as all that stuff comes in, that we need to be intentional about how we're dealing with that stuff so it doesn't accumulate. So again, if you haven't read the Getting Things Done book, I would highly encourage you to read that. Flipping the page, another favorite book of mine, just kind of go through maybe my top 5 here, Millionaire Next Door book, and the Dave Ramsey and the Jesse Meekum philosophies towards money I find a lot of value in. I'm a FPU, Financial Peace University, coordinator or teacher here in our local community. So I like keeping those 7 baby steps that Dave has defined close at hand, so that way I can talk through those with people. Jesse Meekum has a little bit different approach with his YNAB. I don't use YNAB. I use a program called Money Dance, and I've got a couple of videos on my channel. If you're interested in that, you can check those out. But his philosophy on money is really what I'm interested in, and I'm very aligned with him regarding attitude towards money, not necessarily the tool that he uses, that he built. And Dave and Jesse both are pretty similar, really, when you get down to the basic fundamentals of how they talk about money. One of the big differences, and an area that I deviate from Dave Ramsey, is how credit cards are used. He's very strict about not using credit cards, where I tend to align more with with Jesse. And I just really kind of found Jesse recently, so his philosophy hasn't really shaped my ideas. I just agree with him. So I tend to, I recently read his book and I listened to his podcast because I have the same philosophy that he has. I've used a credit card for years and years and years and pay off the balance every month because I use the credit card as a debit card, and every time a purchase is made, we set the money aside in our digital system, our digital envelope, so that way the money is sitting there when the credit card comes in and gets paid off every month. And that allows us then to utilize the benefits of a credit card, whether it's some protection against fraud, whether it's rewards or points that we accumulate. And Dave Ramsey is very much against that and doesn't feel that the rewards are worth the risk. But if you know how to mitigate the risk, then be an adult, make that decision on your own. So that's that. So we're going to move on here. The next page that I added has to do with goals. On the left-hand side is a couple of areas where I can add things that I want to accomplish. So how do I want to spend my time? And on the right-hand side are financial goals that I want to accomplish. How do I want to spend my money? So having a system for documenting your goal and keeping them in mind and tracking them is important. So spelling out what it is I want to accomplish, having a target date set up there. So I'm not just saying, well, I'd like to have it done by this date. No, I'm establishing a date that I will accomplish it by. And the next statement is, why does this have a positive impact? Why am I doing this to begin with? Which references another one of my favorite books by Simon Sinek, Start With Why. Really understand the motivation. What is it that you want to accomplish and why do you want to do it? Whether it's a short range or a long range goal, if you're working towards something, have some opportunities where you're going to check your progress to make sure that you're on track to meet that goal. So now we're back to pages that would look familiar if you've seen my 2018 planner. So on the left-hand side is the current year, well, what will be the current year, 2019, and the 2020 calendar there on the right-hand side. If I go ahead and turn the page, this is a place where I can jot some notes in case things come up throughout the year that I want to capture and organize, so that way when my 2020 planner is ready to be used, I can migrate that information over. In my 2018 planner, I had this page towards the back of the planner, and then I had a link so I could kind of jump back and forth between the two, and I thought, well, that was kind of silly. Why didn't I just have it as the next page, so that way as I'm looking at my 2020 calendar, I can then just jot my notes down here. So that was one of those things that you kind of realize as you're working with it that wasn't very smart. I could have made this a little more efficient. So I took advantage of the opportunity to do that in my 2019 planner. So those tabs there on the top left side, the front tab, again, like the 2018, brings you back to this page, and then we have all of these items in here, and then the year tab brings you to this calendar page, bypassing all of those other items that I added in there that were just reminders for myself. Then that brings us to the regular planner portion of the digital planner. So here's January of 2019, and the tabs along the left-hand side will then correlate to this same type of a view. So February, March, and so forth. On the right-hand side is that area to capture some notes. So the same thing as with the 2020 planning page, where I thought, well, that was kind of silly. Same thing here. On the right-hand side for my 2018 planner, I had a different kind of a grid, but as I was explaining my pages, I had mentioned that I preferred this setup of the note-taking grid, but I didn't utilize it throughout the planner. I don't know why. So for my 2019 planner, I reformatted it so that way I'm utilizing the note-taking page that I prefer. So like in my 2018 planner, if I turn the page, the weekly view is next. This hasn't changed, this format, other than on the right-hand side, the new note-taking page appears. And the only change that has occurred has to do with my little habit tracking box there on the lower corner. Same setup, but I've added a couple of things thanks to a friend of mine that was interested in utilizing a digital planner, and I offered him mine as a template, so that way he could determine what worked for him and what changes he would like to make. And a comment that he made had to do with the fact that he was rereading The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and he included that in his habit tracking box. And I thought that was a great idea. So whatever book I'm reading, what kind of progress am I making on it? So under my Bible in 1 year, then there's reading, coffee and water were already there. The next one is finance. And again, this was one that he added, and I don't know why I didn't already have that on there. The concept here is that every day you're inputting your receipts and you're managing your personal finance. And I've done that for years, and it was probably one of those things that it's just so second nature to me that I just didn't think about it. But I think that was a great add, so I put that on there, and then fitness underneath there, and then at the very bottom is still a blank one, which I think for my 2020 calendar, I'm going to add simplification, declutter type effort might be one that I add for 2020. So again, like in the 2018 planner, there are 5 of these pages between each of the month view calendar pages there. Along the right-hand side, no changes. Those are all just as they were in 2018. There is the title page, and then you scroll over, and there are some note-taking areas. I can use those to write notes. I can use this just as an organization tool to import PDFs and pictures and whatever I need to organize things. Along the top, same as 2018, a blank title page, so that way these can be customized for however they need to be used. And then the same thing, just that initial note-taking page with the ability to import in and organize whatever is needed after that. So that brings us to the extra stuff tab. What I had been doing in 2018 was, if there was something in that extra stuff area that I wanted, I would click on the tab 6 and then scroll over till I got to the extra stuff. And I thought, well, if I have the opportunity to just add a button, why don't I do that, or a tab? So clicking on the extra stuff brings me to that section, and then I can start scrolling through there to grab what I need. So in here is just a blank page if I need to copy and paste that somewhere else within the planner. I did leave a copy of that other grid page. This may come in handy. This may be something that I want to utilize in the future, but for a day-to-day purpose, I prefer this format. So that's what's throughout the planner. Just an extra weekly view. As in the 2018 planner, this is that one-on-one tracking form, kind of in the manager tools, manager-tools.com format. In my 2018 planner, on this page, I actually had imported a Franklin Covey planner page. So rather than having their proprietary content in my planner, I went ahead and created one myself in Excel and just brought that into my planner. So if I have a day that's going to be very busy and a lot of detail to it, I can copy this page and then bring it forward to whatever week that I'm in and drop it over there, so that way I can utilize this page. And I had some folks that had contacted me asking if there was any way that they could purchase my 2018 planner, and I was happy to work something out with them on that, but I didn't feel right about selling something that had their proprietary content in it. So this kind of alleviates that guilt on my end. So if anyone is interested in this, again, I'm happy to work something out with you, and I'll leave some details in the description if you're interested in that. A tool that I might find useful in the future, this on the left-hand side is the Pomodoro technique. In a nutshell, the concept behind that is if you have a day where it's not filled with meetings, and everyone's schedule is different, everyone's work environment is different, but if you have time where you can just sit and do some focused work, the Pomodoro technique can be very useful because it sets up a structure where you're going to work for 25 minutes and then take a 5-minute break, and then work for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, work for 25 minutes. And when you're doing that, you've got notifications turned off, you have your phone turned off, and you're just focused on your work. At the end of that 3-period cycle, you have an extended 20-minute break. And during that 20-minute break is when you do some email or some voicemail triage. If you're following the Dave Allen getting things done technique or philosophy, then you're looking through those inboxes, you're scheduling things, you're putting things on your calendar, you're filing things, you're throwing things in the trash, and you're doing that triage real quickly. If there's something that can be done in 2 minutes, you're taking care of that. So you're kind of clearing things out before you then jump into your next 3-period cycle of 25 minutes of work, 5 minutes of rest. And in that 5 minutes of rest, you're not checking email. That's time to get up, walk away, grab some water, grab some coffee, use the restroom, maybe get a quick breath of fresh air outside, whatever you need to do to kind of clear your mind for a couple of minutes, so that way then when you sit down to do your next 25 minutes of focused work, then you get to concentrate on work. So if you have any interest in the Pomodoro technique, you can look that up online, and there's a whole bunch of information that you'll find on that. On the right hand side is just a simple time journal. Sometimes it's useful just to figure out what we're doing throughout the day. Like money, if we don't track our time, sometimes we just don't really know what's stealing our time. Along the top there, you can fill in some of the things that require most of your time, maybe meetings, telephone calls, email, so forth. And then as you go throughout the day, you just kind of glance through this from time to time, and you just put a check mark in the grid. So I was in a meeting for an hour, so you would come down the column, and then for those 4 15-minute blocks, you would check mark those off. And then at the end of the day, you take a look at this and say, oh yeah, someone grabbed me, and I wasted 10 minutes in the hallway listening to somebody talk about this or that really wasn't productive. I was only supposed to be in a meeting for 2 hours today, but that took 2 hours and 45 minutes. So there's an extra 45 minutes that I wasn't anticipating. So it kind of just gives you an idea of where some of those things steal your time from. Sometimes to take a week and track things for a week is helpful and eye-opening. The next page is the same monthly planning calendar that I had in my 2018 planner, the same project list, and the same waiting for list. I did have this matrix in the 2018 planner, but I referred to it as the Eisenhower matrix rather than the priority matrix. And I chose to change the name simply because, again, at the very beginning of the planner, I showed how I had brought in the notes for the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And in the book, Stephen Covey talks about this matrix, but he doesn't give attribution to President Eisenhower. He just refers to it as a priority matrix. So I went ahead and just changed the name just to be consistent with the 7 Habits book that I had referenced. This page is dedicated to some continuous improvement concepts. On the left-hand side is the 8-step problem-solving process. My experience with continuous improvement is related to my Air Force career. The Air Force's adaptation of Lean Six Sigma is called AFSO 21, the Air Force Smart Operations for the 21st Century. And these are some of the tools that we used while I was working in that area. So again, the 8-step problem solving, and there's some reference there to Mr. Deming's PDCA cycle, Plan, Do, Check, Act. I think more current terminology, it's Plan, Do, Check, Adjust. On the right-hand side is the 8 forms of waste, utilizing the downtime acronym. Next to that is the 5S. If you're going to clean up a workspace and you want to utilize a 5S tool to do that. In the Air Force, we did call it a 6S because there was always a safety step. We wanted to ensure that that we were always looking for safety issues. Underneath that is an Ishikawa diagram or a fishbone diagram, and below that is a 5Y worksheet. The next page is a SWOT analysis. I put it in this format because I find walking through this mental process very helpful. We're currently contemplating a change at our church, and we're walking through a SWOT exercise to make sure that the change that we're thinking about is truly the best thing for the organization. So I'm a big fan of using a SWOT analysis tool. Then just a couple of blank pages. They're going to be copied and inserted for anything. And then here at the back of the book, and the tab that says back is this page. It leads you to this page. I included this just because I really enjoyed this little story that I heard not too long ago. Whether you're the banker in this story or whether you're the fisherman in this story, doesn't matter. Either perspective is fine. Just know which one you are and don't let someone else sell you their dream. And that closes the planner. So thanks once again for watching. I really appreciate all the feedback that I received from my 2018 planner and all the comments and likes that that video got. It's great to know that there are others that have similar interests and find tools like this to be very useful. So God bless, and thanks again for watching.